lot less time. And one thing you realize is adding fractions is way harder than multiplying and reducing them, isn't it? Because you got to get that least common denominator. And if you don't use the least common denominator, your work can get even messier. So it's really essential that you try to find it. Anyway, so what we're going to focus on this one is more of the same. Problems get a little harder, but let's focus more on on how to write the problem down clearly, okay? So this is addition problem first, and always read the problem carefully because you make sure you do the right thing. Like I was saying, you'd much rather do this problem, wouldn't you, than this one? Because this one you just multiply straight across if it's a multiplication. Here you got to fuss around with the least common denominator. Well, what is the LCD in this first problem? The LCD, smallest number that 8 and 6 both go into, I think it's 24. Seems like I use that one a lot, doesn't it? Alright, so what do? Well, you want to write them both over 24, so you got to multiply the first one. You make it equivalent fraction, right? Multiply top and bottom by 3, so the bottom is 24. And the second one, you multiply top and bottom by 4, so the bottom is 24. So you end up with 9 over 24 plus 20 over 24. That equals 29 over 24. So this is a good way to write the problem down. Always write the whole problem on each step and clearly mark it so you can see what you're doing. And then make sure you simplify your answer. Can you reduce that? No. Multiplication, you just multiply straight across. Remember what we said earlier in this chapter was you don't want to actually multiply it out. It's better to factor it. I think we can remove a factor of 1, right? Cancel a 3 and you get 5 over 16. There you go. Alright, now some of the problems here, you may have multiple steps, see, like this. And on this one, just follow the order of operations. Don't we have to work inside the parentheses first, right? So we need the LCD here. We do not need it here though. This is a multiplication on the outside. So I would say write it in additive form. That's a good first step. And then to get the LCD, you got to write them on the inside here. You want to write them both over. You don't need 24. It's actually 12, isn't it? So multiply top and bottom by 2. Multiply top and bottom by 3. So this is still 2/3. You don't need the LCD on this 2/3. It stays there. So when you multiply top and bottom by 2, you get 10 over 12. Here you get negative 9 over 12. So when you multiply straight across, now you get 2 over 36. Make sure you reduce it though. You factor it, and you can cancel a 2. Now what happens if you cancel the 2? What's left on the top when you cancel that 2? Do you remember? There's a 1 left, so it should be 1 over 18. Don't say 18. That's a common mistake, but it's actually 1 over 18, isn't it? All right, let's keep going. All right, so on this one here, you have a subtraction problem. Changing it to additive form is a good idea. I always say to do that in all these. If you see a subtraction, just change it to additive form. Notice, by the way, the minus sign becomes plus and negative, but I put a plus here, and I move the negative up to the numerator, right? Same thing here. Okay, so what is the LCD between 3, 6, and 12? I think it's just 12, isn't it? So for the first one, you have to multiply top and bottom by 4. For the second one, you have to multiply top and bottom by 2. The last one, you don't have to do anything. It's already over 12. So this becomes 8x over 12 plus negative 10x over 12 plus negative 1 over 12. I should just say negative x over 12. Or negative 1x, I guess. Anyway, so what do you get here when you add these up? If you add the negative ones first, I get negative 11x plus 8x is negative 3x. Well, here we go. I wrote the same thing down twice. Okay, that's okay. So you were down to here. Are we done? Are we done here? No, you can reduce it. You factor top and bottom. You can cancel a factor of 3, and your answer is negative x over 4. And then I'll give you some to practice. Let's say you were working some of these and you weren't sure what the LCD is. Well, what's the LCD? I bet if you stared at that long enough, you'd figure it out what the LCD is. But let's say you didn't know. Remember the process we talked about last time? What you do is you actually factor each one of the denominators separately, and then you use the number of factors that occurs the most in any one of the factorizations. So it looks like you're going to need 2 3's, 2 2's, and an x. That turns out to be 36x as your LCD. So just in case, you can always do this. Usually you don't have to on the homework because you can just figure it out. Okay, so let's finish this problem now. Alright, so here we go. We've got to write them all over 36x. I changed to additive form. That's a good first step. So then to make them over 36x, let's multiply this on top and bottom by 4. So the bottom is 36x. This on top and bottom by 6. This on top and bottom by 9. So you get 20 over 36x plus negative 18 over 36x plus 9 over 36x. You can combine these. I'm going to add the positive ones first. Get 29 plus negative 18. I get 11 over 36x. There you go. All right. How about this one? What is the LCD between 6x and 4? The smallest number that 6x goes into and 4. I'll give you a hint. It's not 12. It's actually 12x, right? Don't forget the x. It's not a bad idea to write down the LCD on top, just to remind you that that's what you need to have. Change to additive form. Then what do you multiply 6x by to get 12x? I'm going to multiply that top and bottom by 2. What do you multiply 4 by to get 12x? Listen, what do you multiply 4 by to get 12x? The answer is 3x. Don't forget to multiply by the x also. So how come this didn't need the x but this one did? It's because this already had the x on the bottom, right? Okay. So you got to be really careful. So this becomes 10 over 12x plus negative 9x. So what is, when you add these together, you add the numerators, now that the denominators are the same. What is 10 plus negative 9x? What is 10 plus negative 9x? You can't combine them. They're not like terms. So be careful in this problem. This is your answer. You could write it as a subtraction, I guess. 10 minus 9x over 12x, but make sure you understand you can only combine like terms. Okay, a couple more, then I'll give you some to try. How about that? This one, yay, we got the common denominator. Yay, we don't have to worry about that, see? But be careful here. See that minus sign? When you change it to additive form, this is really subtle. When you change it to additive form, it becomes plus the negative of the whole numerator. So you got to put parentheses around the numerator if it's more than one term. Very important. I then distribute the negative sign. Now that the denominators are the same, you can add the numerators. What is x plus 2 plus negative x plus negative 1? I think the x's cancel. Your answer is 1/4. Okay, one more, then I'll give you some to try. How about that? Here you got to get the common denominator that's 12, right? LCD is 12. All right, first let's change to additive form. Now aren't we going to multiply? Be careful with this minus sign. See how it becomes plus the negative of parentheses here? We're going to have to multiply this first one on top and bottom by 3, aren't we? But again, you got to put parentheses around the whole numerator because the 3 multiplies the whole top. There's a distributive law going on here. Don't forget that. So when you do that, you get 6x plus negative 15 over 12, and when you distribute the negative sign here, you get negative 4x plus negative 3 over 12. Combine like terms, be careful, you get 2x plus negative, you get 2 x's. What do you get on the numbers? What's negative 15 plus negative 3? Oh boy, this is a good problem. You know why I like this so much? You know why I like this problem so much? It's because I think you can reduce this. 2x plus negative 18 over 12. Can't you factor out a 2 from the top? 2 times x plus negative 9 over 2 times 2 times 3. Remember what we talked about? Factor this, use the distributive law. Cancel the 2's, and your final answer is x minus 9 over 6. That's a good test problem, isn't it? Alright. Speaking of which, go ahead, hit the pause button and try these. We'll go over this in just a minute. Also, I think the LCD is 24, yeah, 24. So to write them all over 24, you got to multiply the first one on top and bottom by 2, second one on top and bottom by 6, third one on top and bottom by 3. So I get 10 over 24 plus 18 over 24 plus negative 21 over 24. I get 7 over 24. 28 minus 1, yeah, 7 over 24. Now the other one, let's see, this is kind of tricky here. The LCD is 12, right? So you're going to want to write them both over 12. The first one, you're going to have to multiply top and bottom by 2, right? But the second one, you're going to have to multiply top and bottom. What do you multiply 4 by to get 12? It'd be 3. So look, you get 10x over 12 plus 9 over 12. But be careful here, you can't combine those. Those aren't like terms, so you got to leave it as 10x plus 9 over 12. Interesting, huh? Okay, we've got time for a couple more. Why don't you try these two problems? Try 9 and 11, okay? We'll go over these in just a second. Change additive form. We got to get the common denominator inside the parentheses, which is 12, I believe. So we got to multiply top and bottom of this one by 2 top and bottom of this one by 3, right? So you get 2x over 12 plus negative 3x over 12. When you combine those, I think you get negative x over 12 times 2 over x. But remember what you do now? You're multiplying. So don't multiply it out. In fact, you should factor. I believe you can cancel the x, and you can cancel a 2. I think your final answer is negative 1/6, huh? Good problem. That's a really good one. Be able to do that on the quiz. This is a good one, too. Let's see. Got to get the common denominator. Let's change the additive form. Remember, see that minus sign? Be really careful about that, because when you change the plus and negative, the negative multiplies the whole top. Okay, the top becomes 4x plus negative 1, but there's a negative in front of there. It comes from the minus sign. So then what you got to do is you got to multiply top and bottom of this first one by 3, right? And so you get this. Now the denominators are the same, and you can combine terms on the numerators, which is 6x plus 9 plus negative 4x plus 1. So when you add the x's, you get 2x, and when you add the numbers, you get 10. So there you go. Isn't it nice to be all done and simplified? And isn't it nice to have it totally simplified and know that you're done? Hey, wait a second. I think we can reduce that. You factor the top, a 2, and the bottom, factor a 2. You can cancel the 2's, and your answer is x plus 5 over 3. Always look to reduce your final answer. Isn't this fun? We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.